Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Soul Food and Fuel for Your Life. I am your host, Kenton David Bell. It is July 21st. It's a full moon. Uh, they call it a buck moon. It's a full moon in Capricorn, second one this year. And I'm a Capricorn, so it has a lot of effect on me, it seems. Really powerful, wonderful stuff moving right now in the world, at least in my world, I feel. I think many, many people are feeling it as well. This is a moon about finishing up old stuff, old patterns, old cycles, and stepping into the new. I get distracted if you see my eyes start. I'm watching the birds outside of my office eating at the bird feeder this morning. Um, I want to talk about what I call the universal current for a moment, and and I'll tell you why I want to talk about it is as we are moving away and out of a crumbling old program, and we see it crumbling, we feel it all around us. We need to have let's say, a guidance or a pathway, a lifeline, perhaps, a trusted something that we can follow through the chaos into the new. And once we're in the new, we're going to be creating like we've never created before. This is a great window of opportunity, especially for the very creative types, where law of attraction is just one of the best tools you can use. Um, Working with your ascended self in the vertical journey. But what I want to talk about here today, just this short little video I want to post, is about the universal current. I call it the universal current. And it's the current that flows through everything. It is the life force, it is the intelligence, it is the structure that is not quite in form yet, but it becomes form when we begin to interface with it, when our consciousness does. It's the particle and the waveform, both the waveform and the particle. It is both. And so many of our systems in the old paradigm are very limited, and many are running up against those walls. Those containers will not provide the pathway forward. So one needs to actually step out of it. And it can be very difficult when you're in a particular container of thinking and consciousness. For instance, I'm going to take the container of psychology. And in many ways, that container is very limited, and it's actually very detrimental to the development of the species, mostly at this time. And I'll tell you why. First of all, think about when it was created. It's been around for a while now, and we're talking two main schools of thought in psychology: the Freudian and the Jungian. Now, Carl Jung he broke through the wall in many ways, and he took psychology to a whole new level, and especially through his symbols and dream time and the subconscious, the superconscious, and all of that, where he had the direct experience of it rather than just kind of a mental construct of it. A lot of psychology creates separation, is what I've learned. And you can't get to where one wants to go into the creative, magical, fertile lands that we all are desiring at this time if you're in a box of psychology thinking. Let me give you an example, and I work with clients this way often. If you think about boundaries, in psychology, they talk about personal boundaries. It's a good idea overall. And if you're living just in a world of psychology, it's a great idea. Okay. I'm not arguing with that. However, it is only good in really the world of psychology and in society. And that societal structure that we're living in is literally breaking down and transforming right now. So the more you put thought and effort into securing your boundaries and maintaining them, you're actually just supporting a very limited world that is not going to serve you. It's probably not serving you now at all. But instead of boundaries, what would work better? Tell you what works better is when you're occupying your space. If you're really occupying your space and in a alignment with your higher mind, higher self, higher mind, uh, there's other terminology we can use here as well. You could probably use the term authentic self, which is taken from a psychological point, but usually that is above the heart chakra and above. Most psychology only gets up, if lucky, jumps up into the heart. Sometimes it's mostly based in lower chakras and lower thinking. So, but when we begin to let go of that and start to see that we are the creative agents in our journey through reality, that's when we can start to open up to what I call the universal current that flows through us. Just as you're listening to this, just ask yourself to tune in to the universal current. You don't even have to know what it is necessarily, but don't take my word for it. Try it yourself, as they say. But the universal current is the everything that is in there. Everything that we experience here in life is created by and has the universal current supporting it, flowing through it, and so on and so forth. And it also has an intelligence. Now, this is the intelligence of God's source as well. I'll often use the term God's source universe altogether and interchangeably. And I see it all those ways really as well. Now, the universal current flows through us, it's not outside of us. Often people think of God as outside of them. That's changing as we are ascending as a planet, as a species. People are having more and more experiences of God source energy flowing through them, and they can see their relationship more and more so with this aspect of self. Now, if you want to grow, ascend, because a path of enlightenment, spiritual awakening, one thing that's absolutely imperative is you're going to have to shift your identity. And now, when we look at psychology and how you develop your identity there and where you've gained strength, it's probably served you in a lot of ways, but it's also probably not serving you and limiting you in other ways. So I invite you to take a look at that and see how glued you are to your identity and all the emotions, the structures, the thoughts, thought forms that create that identity, not only create it, but reinforce it. And what you have invested in that identity versus what could you have if you were able to let that go. I guarantee you that every time we allow ourselves to um, change our self identity, that's where change really happens. You cannot truly change, grow, especially you can't move into a path of self realization, enlightenment, or ascension with the same identity. So, matter of fact, if you're on one of those paths, you're going to have to learn how to shift your identity somewhat more often to the point where you actually become nothing. You'll start to experience yourself as not a personality, not a concept as far as humans go, but just more pure consciousness. And when this begins to happen, it can be a little scary. It feels like the rug was ripped out from underneath you, like you stepped on a trap door and the floor fell out. That's a very common feeling. And so a sense of security that was linked to the identity of self has to go. But as you stand in that place where the floor was ripped out, you start to notice that you're not going to really fall, even though it might feel like it. So you start to get traction in a new way, you see. And as you begin to relate to your environment, your reality, your universe, your place in the universe around that, you begin to develop a new a new identity. And hopefully that identity will be much more empowering. You'll start to see those God qualities in yourself. And the intelligence is I should say the intelligence, because I believe it's one supreme intelligence that really oversees all of that, all that we experience here. There's a little exercise I used to do with clients a few years ago. I haven't done it recently, but it's time to probably pull that one out of the bag of tricks again. And it is imagine for a moment that you are part of a galactic race, that all of humanity is, that we're a galactic race. Imagine that we have colonized other planets. We're an interstellar spacefaring race now, and that we think that way as well. So just go ahead and step into that thinking. Use your imagination. It's okay. Imagination is very important in these shifts that we're in right now, by the way. And imagine that you're not just stuck here on this one rock, third rock from the sun, but you actually have access to all these other planets. And, you could hop in I don't know, teleporter or spaceship or whatever and go off over there if you wanted to. And just feel into that expansiveness if you were a galactic being. You know, I love this exercise. There's a there's another analogy kind of for this exercise of many of us have heard, and that is to be on the earth but not of it. And what we're seeing right now in the breaking down of the world, that's not the planet, but the world, the man-made world, which is very broken. And it's time for us to make some really clear choices, first as an individual, but as we do that individually, that is also choice making for the collective. And we want to wake up back to the true nature of who we are. Right now, we're in danger, I believe, and I'm not the only one. I'm sure most of you feel this as well, of losing the human uniqueness and gifts that we have barely been able to open to become aware of up to this point. We are, in my view, just barely entering into maybe an adolescent stage of our growth as a species, maybe adolescent. So we're very immature still. There's so much more for us to learn and discover about the true power of being a human being. And if we don't take it upon ourselves to call forth what we're talking about here, call forth your true godlike nature, your universal intelligence that's in you, it's in your DNA, it's in your heart, it's in the cells in your brain as well, it's in the base of your tailbone as well, the original cells there. But if we don't make an effort to do this, it's it's so scary to what we become. We start to atrophy these things as we give up our innate power to things such as technology, um, AI. I've played with AI and the relationship to it. And when you are in a vertical alignment, AI is very helpful. But if you're not in that, it's easy just to become bamboozled and taken over by an outside source that starts to run your life out of kind of under the banner of, oh, it's easy, it's smart, it's helpful. But every time we do this, we're giving away more of our power. We've done a lot of giving away of our power. We've done it to these giant tech companies, Amazon. I'm guilty as well. I love having things delivered, but it's also given that company a lot of power, and we don't have the same choice anymore. All the mom and pops are gone. See what I'm if you look at it that way and see how it becomes very disempowering. The company Meta, Facebook as well, that's all social. Is that really socializing? Is this really helping us in the long run? For marketing, maybe it's great. For checking in, maybe a little bit, but it's not a substitute for one-on-one interfacing with others. And that's a big issue right now. And so these aspects of self are beginning to atrophy. And that's up to us. We're the ones who are either going to, change in the right way. There's two paths in front of us, or begin to give up all of our power to AI and become very atrophied. It's very sad. The human being needs to engage. We need these challenges. Anyhow, coming back to the universal current, I got a little distracted there. It's early in the morning here. I'm just waking up still. And coming back to the universal current, just feel the current. Just tune into it. Don't try to make it something it's not. Let it show you. It flows through everything. It's like quantum particles flowing through you. Actually, that's is what it is really. It takes you right into the quantum field. This, I believe, is the doorway to the new spirituality, to the new human. This is where we're going to find our power to create what we're calling the new worlds. New worlds aren't anywhere else. It's right here, right now. It's inside of us. Anyhow, we're gonna keep this kind of short right now. We're getting up. We're gonna go for a drive. It's a beautiful morning here, and to get out in some of that Sedona magic. It's a very powerful day, full moon day, the 21st of July, 2024. I am your host, Kenton David Bell. This is a segment from Soul Food and Fuel for Your Life. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to hearing from you again soon. Bye bye.